They don't show up wearing a warning sign. No red flags waving in the wind. They smile. They laugh. They listen. At first, they feel like a breath of fresh air. Charming. Magnetic. They mirror your thoughts. Share your passions. Say all the right things at all the right times. But here's what you don't see. Behind that warm gaze is calculation. Behind every compliment, a blueprint. They don't care about you. They're studying you. These people highly manipulative, emotionally calculating. They walk among us every single day. Sometimes as friends, sometimes as lovers, sometimes even as family. And by the time you realize what's happening, you're confused, second-guessing yourself, and they're already on to their next target. Let's make something clear. This video is not about slapping a label on anyone. It's not about armchair diagnosing disorders. It's about recognizing patterns dangerous, manipulative behaviors, so you can protect yourself before it's too late. Because these patterns don't just hurt, they reshape you. They trap you in loops of guilt, confusion, emotional exhaustion. But you are not powerless. There is a philosophy, ancient, battle-tested, and sharper than any therapy trend, that can help you cut through the chaos. It's called Stoicism. The Stoics didn't teach us to suppress our emotions. They taught us how to master them. They taught us how to see clearly in the fog of manipulation, how to respond instead of react, how to spot the illusion and step away before we get pulled in too deep. This video is your shield. We'll explore 5 signs you're dealing with a highly manipulative person. And for each one, we'll break it down using timeless Stoic insights. Because if you've ever felt like something was off but couldn't explain why, this might be the moment where everything starts to make sense. Let's get into it. Have you ever met someone who just got you? Not over time, not after months of conversation or shared experience, but right away, like they'd read the script of your life before the first handshake. They finish your sentences. They notice the little things no one else ever catches. They echo your beliefs, your humor, your insecurities, almost like a reflection of your best self. At first, it feels electric. You feel seen. You feel known. You feel chosen. It's intoxicating, like emotional gravity, like the universe finally aligned just for you. But here's what you have to ask yourself. Is it love or is it strategy? Because sometimes what feels like fate is actually a setup. What you're experiencing might not be deep understanding. It might be targeted mimicry, a customized performance, fine-tuned to disarm you. You're not being embraced. You're being studied. This is emotional scanning in disguise, an advanced form of mirroring used by highly manipulative people. They aren't connecting. They're collecting. Your preferences logged, your fears noted, your patterns memorized, not to build real intimacy, but to construct the illusion of it faster, deeper, more convincingly than real life. Let's get real. We all love when someone remembers the little things. Your favorite coffee shop, that childhood story you told once, the way you lower your voice when you're unsure. It makes us feel important, valued, safe. But when someone does all that on day 3, when their playlist matches yours exactly, when they parrot back your life philosophy like a mirror that's not connection. That's choreography. It's easy to miss because it feels right. It's flattering. It's validating. But here's the trap: they're not building connection. They're building compliance. The faster you feel safe, the faster you let them in. And the moment you do, they gain control. They flood you with emotional attention, texting constantly, making grand gestures, sharing vulnerabilities that draw you in. But the timeline is rushed. The depth feels premature. You haven't had time to build trust yet somehow. You're already entangled. And then one day, you pause. You ask a question. You set a boundary. You disrupt the rhythm. And everything shifts. The warmth goes cold. The connection feels forced. They become distant, moody, even passive-aggressive. Suddenly, the person who adored you last week is emotionally unavailable this week. Why? Because the performance depends on your cooperation, and the moment you stop playing your part, they lose interest. That's when you realize you were never in a relationship. You were in a simulation. A scripted experience designed to get your defenses down and your emotions up. This is where Stoic clarity becomes your protection. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the impression carry you away." Just because something feels true doesn't make it true. Stoicism teaches you to slow down, to observe, to evaluate people by actions over impressions. Real connection builds gradually. It allows for friction. It respects boundaries. It doesn't demand full access to your soul within the first week. So here's what to ask. Am I being loved? Or am I being learned? That subtle unease. That voice whispering, "This is too perfect." That's not fear. That's your awareness, trying to speak up before your trust gets hijacked. And the moment you pause, the moment you listen, is the moment you stop being prey. Have you ever found yourself doubting something you know happened? You replay a conversation in your head, word for word, but when you bring it up, they deny it ever occurred. Not only do they deny it, they make you question if you imagined the entire thing. This isn't a mistake. It's not forgetfulness. This is narrative control. This is psychological warfare disguised as everyday conversation. They don't just lie to avoid trouble. They lie to reshape the entire reality you're living in, to twist the facts until they're always the misunderstood one, the misunderstood hero, the innocent victim, and you're left holding the guilt, the confusion, the self-doubt. One day, they say something cutting. The next, they deny it. Then they flip it and tell you, "You're the one who's being dramatic. I never said that. You're twisting things. You always take things the wrong way." And here's where it becomes dangerous, not because they convince others, but because they slowly convince you. You start to second-guess your memory. You wonder, did I mishear them? Maybe I am being overly sensitive. Maybe I'm just difficult to deal with. And that moment when you stop trusting your own internal compass, that's when they win. Because now, they don't just bend reality, they build it. And they place you in the center of it, like a puppet. This goes far beyond casual dishonesty. This is memory corruption, a systematic erosion of your sense of what's real. They revise timelines, change their past, offer just enough truth to make their lies believable. They'll say, "I told you that already," when they didn't. Or, that's not how I remember it. When they know exactly how it happened, they warp events to fit the version of reality that benefits them. And when you push back, they deflect. They get defensive. They play the victim. Sometimes they even cry, not because they're hurt, but because now you're the bad guy for asking too many questions. And slowly, without noticing, you stop asking. You stop confronting. You censor your doubts before they even leave your mouth. This is where Stoicism becomes your survival strategy. Because Stoicism doesn't just teach resilience, it teaches clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." The Stoic seeks truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs them ego. But the manipulative person doesn't want truth. They want control. So don't argue to win. Don't confront to be believed. Instead, protect your mind, your clarity, your sense of what is real. Start writing things down. Dates, times, conversations, promises made, things they told you. Not as revenge, not as evidence for a future fight, but as an anchor, a record to keep you steady when your memory is under siege. And don't isolate. That's what they want. Talk to people who are outside their influence. People who aren't being emotionally manipulated. People who can remind you of the version of events you know is real. Because when you share your experience, you get something back that's priceless perspective. You start to see the pattern. You realize this isn't new. This isn't random. It's a system, and you're not the only one caught in it. And most importantly, when you feel that quiet unease, when the stories keep shifting, when the guilt starts creeping in, don't dismiss it. Don't explain it away. Name it. Call it what it is, psychological manipulation. Because if they control the narrative, they control the lens through which you see yourself. And once they own that, they own everything. Don't hand them that power. You've been holding it together all week. Life's been heavy grief, stress, anxiety, whatever it is. It's real. And finally, after carrying it alone, you decide to open up. You choose someone you think you can trust. Someone you've shared laughs with, maybe even dreams. You expect warmth, understanding, presence. But what you get is a flat stare. Or worse, a sentence that sounds like it was pulled from a self-help manual. "I'm sorry you feel that way." That's tough. Anyway, they look you in the eye, but it doesn't feel like they see you. They nod at the right moments, say the correct words, but there's no weight behind them, no resonance, no depth, just emptiness. And in that moment, something inside you tightens, because you realize you're not being felt, you're being managed. This is selective empathy, and it's one of the most disorienting behaviors a manipulative person can use. They know how to appear emotionally attuned when it serves them, when it makes them look good, when it strengthens their position, when they're trying to win you over or keep you compliant. But when your vulnerability becomes inconvenient, when it threatens to pull attention toward you, instead of them, they vanish, detach. Sometimes they even act annoyed, as if your pain is an interruption to their storyline. What makes it especially confusing is that they don't disappear completely. They'll show up just enough to keep you second-guessing. They'll text occasionally, post something supportive online, even hug you in public, or ask how you're doing when others are around. So you rationalize, they're doing their best. Maybe I caught them at the wrong time. But what you're actually experiencing isn't empathy. It's empathy theater, a carefully curated emotional performance designed for maximum effect and minimum commitment. It's empathy as a tactic, not a connection, not a truth. These people don't connect. They simulate. They read the emotional cues. They know the phrases. But behind the performance is a void. You can feel it. You know it. It's like talking to a mirror. The words bounce back, but nothing ever lands. And when you're truly in pain, not a casual bad day, but soul-level ache, they become distant, withdrawn, sometimes even hostile, as if your emotions are an inconvenience to be dealt with or dismissed. That's your signal. That's your red flag. Because people who genuinely care don't flinch when things get hard. They don't minimize your pain. They lean in. This is where Stoicism offers a powerful check against illusion. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And in this context, that quote means this: when someone gives you crumbs of care, you start imagining the loaf. You create the rest in your mind, filling in their emotional gaps with what you hope they feel. You turn almost into enough. But Stoic clarity calls you back to reality. Don't judge potential. Judge patterns. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do consistently. Ask yourself, are they only present when it's easy? Do they offer support that feels like obligation or like love? Do they listen only when it serves them, then disappear when you're truly vulnerable? If they respond to your tears with a shrug, your trauma with a redirect, or your honesty with silence, you are not in a safe space. You're in a space where your emotions are either tools to be used or burdens to be avoided. And here's the truth: you are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person. Stop mistaking performance for presence. Stop confusing occasional kindness for enduring care. Real empathy shows up when no one's watching. Real care sits in the silence with you. It listens. Not to respond, but to feel. And if someone cannot offer you that, no matter how smooth their words, you owe it to yourself to stop calling it love. It always starts small. A ride to the airport. A short stay at your place until they figure things out. A quick favor, just this once. Maybe a little cash they swear they'll pay back next week. And at first, it feels normal. You're just helping. That's what kind people do. Right. You tell yourself you're being supportive, that maybe they're just going through a tough time. You see potential in them. And besides, they say all the right things. We're in this together. It's not about me, it's about us. I've never had someone who believed in me like you do. But here's the catch: you keep giving, and the scale never balances. Time, energy, space, money, emotional bandwidth, all going out, nothing coming in. What you're experiencing isn't a relationship. It's a quiet extraction, a passive drain, disguised as closeness. They're not robbing you with force. They're receiving with strategy, always just below the threshold of suspicion, always wrapped in intimacy, in love, in future promises. You start to notice that you're always the one shifting, adjusting your plans, absorbing their moods, paying their share financially or emotionally, and every time you think about pulling back, they shift the tone. What happened to us? You've changed. I guess I'm just too much for people. Suddenly, you're the villain, selfish, distant, unsupportive. But what you're really doing is waking up. You begin to see the cycle. Every dream comes with a cost. Every request is pitched like an investment in your shared future, but somehow, you're the only one investing. Let's say you meet someone like this. Maybe they have a big idea, a startup, a passion project. You're inspired. You believe. They ask for a little help to get started. You chip in, then a little more. Then your time, your energy, your stability. They crash on your couch, then slowly make it their home. They borrow your car, and it becomes their ride. They start managing your schedule, your money, even your decisions. And because they never demand, you don't see it happening until you're emotionally overdrawn. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes your compass. Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of himself." And you are not your own master when guilt keeps you locked in a role that's draining you. You are not strong when your kindness becomes a prison. When you silence your needs just to avoid disappointing someone who never hesitated to disappoint you. Here's the truth. Real intimacy doesn't drain. It builds. It doesn't manipulate your empathy. It mirrors it. It reciprocates. You're not selfish for needing boundaries. You're not cold for stepping away from someone who only knows how to take. You're not breaking the relationship. You're breaking the illusion. So ask yourself, are your needs being met here? Is this dynamic helping you grow or slowly grinding you down? Are you in something that feeds your spirit or just something that feeds off of it? Draw the line, calmly, clearly, without apology, not from bitterness, but from wisdom. Because once you see the pattern, you can finally stop participating in it. And that's when real freedom begins. There's a kind of person whose life always feels like it's on the edge of collapse. One crisis away from disaster. One decision away from drama. They live in a storm and everyone around them gets caught in the winds. Jobs come and go. So do relationships, commitments, friendships, even basic responsibilities. There's always a reason, always a story. And somehow, it's never their fault. They were misunderstood. Their boss was toxic. Their ex was manipulative. Their landlord was unreasonable. Their friends didn't support their growth. And while they tell these stories, you're the one picking up the pieces. They spin from plan to plan, each one more impulsive than the last. A cross-country move, a new business idea, a last-minute loan. They promise to repay. And for a moment, you want to believe them. You want to see the best. You tell yourself, maybe this time they'll get it right. But they don't. Because they're not building stability, they're chasing stimulation. They crave excitement, the way a drowning person craves air. Routine feels like suffocation. Reflection feels like weakness. Responsibility feels like a trap. So they run, not forward, but sideways through jobs, through people, through you. And every time the dust settles, you're left behind the unpaid bill, the broken promise, The emotional fallout, they didn't stick around to clean up. It's not just chaos. It's chronic emotional entitlement. They want forgiveness without apology, loyalty without consistency, support without contribution. And when you push back, they explode, or disappear, or morph into someone completely different, just long enough to confuse you again. This isn't just instability. This is someone weaponizing unpredictability to avoid accountability. They use their volatility like a smoke bomb to escape consequences, to distract you from the damage they cause. And let's be real, this isn't love. It's not connection. It's not partnership. It's emotional babysitting. So what does Stoic philosophy offer us in the face of this kind of chaos? Chrysippus, a great Stoic mind, wrote, "He who errs in action, errs in judgment." Translation: destructive behavior isn't just a lapse, it's a symptom of flawed values. And if they're not willing to confront their judgment, they will repeat their chaos again and again, with new people, new stories, and the same broken outcomes. Here's what Stoicism teaches. You are not required to sink with their ship. Compassion doesn't mean abandoning your boundaries. Loyalty doesn't mean sacrificing your sanity. You can walk away without guilt. You can detach without hate. You can preserve your peace without carrying their dysfunction one more mile. Ask yourself honestly, do they take ownership of their mess or leave it in your lap? Do they change or just expect you to keep adapting? Are you growing in this connection or are you shrinking to survive it? Because if accountability makes them hostile, if truth makes them vanish, if stability makes them bored, you're not dealing with someone in transition. You're dealing with someone who uses chaos as a comfort zone. And if you keep holding them up, they'll never learn to stand. You don't need to fight. You don't need to explain. You just need to exit. Not with drama, not with resentment, but with peace. Because no matter how hard you try to hold them together, they will not change. Not because they can't, but because they don't see a reason to. So stop breaking yourself to fix someone who keeps choosing to stay broken. Protect your peace. You were not born to be someone else's emotional ambulance. You were born to stand on solid ground, even if that means standing alone. When someone constantly lies, manipulates, or gaslights, they're not just after your compliance, they're after your clarity. Because the moment you stop trusting your own thoughts, they win. The real goal was never just to control what you do. It was to rewrite how you see yourself, to make you question your worth, to shrink your voice, to bend your boundaries so slowly, you forget they were ever there. But now you see it. And that changes everything. Because the moment you recognize the pattern, you reclaim the power they worked so hard to steal. No need for anger. No need for revenge. Just distance. Let them drown in their own chaos. You rise in silence. Because Stoicism isn't about emotionlessness, it's about emotional clarity. It's not about walls. It's about anchors. It's the quiet decision to stop letting someone else's dysfunction shape your reality. So if something inside you whispered, "This isn't right," trust it. That voice is yours, and it's still there beneath the noise, ready to guide you back to peace. If any part of this video felt like your story, then no. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're waking up. And that awakening is everything. Share this moment. When did you realize someone was manipulating you? Let's talk in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, because we don't just teach survival, we teach sovereignty. This is the Stoic Shield community, where clarity becomes armor. And when you're ready to go deeper, watch the next video. Become emotionally unreachable. Quiet control through Stoic power. The quietest people often carry the most unstoppable strength. And if no one's told you lately, you're allowed to protect your peace, even if it means walking away.